The 201st year of the Fourth Era of Tamriel is a world at war. Inside the borders of Skyrim, cultural conflict has led to civil strife. Outside of its borders, only 3 former provinces still hold to some form of peaceful daily life. Summerset, capital of the Thalmor, Anzalil-governed Blackmarsh, and the imperial capital of Cyrodiil. In its current state, the Empire is comprised of poverty-stricken High Rock, home of the Man-Mer known as Bretons, the western half of Skyrim, and the rich homeland of the Imperials, known as Cyrodiil. Morrowind's Red Year has left it devastated by natural disaster, and war with their former slaves now led against them by the nationalist Anzalil. Meanwhile, the Thalmor occupation of Valenwood, 180 years in, has made the High Elves very arrogant in assuming that the time has come for the cultural genocide of the native Bosmer population, with many betraying their people for the Elven supremacists. Hammerfell being a similar brutal war zone during this time, many have found refuge in the otherwise uninhabitable Alakir Desert. Lastly, the homeland of the Khajiit, known as Elsweyr, has been deeply divided, at first into 2 different kingdoms, Northern Anaquina and Southern Palatine, and again into Thalmor-controlled and Cat-controlled territories. Today's mod list, brought to you by Ronin Kraft, will be bringing as much as possible of this continent comprised of disparity and bloodshed into your game. All our mods are linked in the source list below, and this video has been divided into chapters for your listening or viewing convenience. This is all of Tamriel in Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Let's begin. Grimdark. Half off! At the core of Elder Scrolls has always been the philosophy of making your choices, actions, and the consequences thereof matter in the world. Before we get to the rest of Tamriel, we first have to ask the simple questions of who are you, and what will you do? Previous Elder Scrolls games didn't just feature a wider map to explore, but wider ranges of ways the player could interact with a living, breathing world. We'll start with character creation. As I'm recommending these mods together instead of as single entities, I will simply give you an example of what it's like to now create a character, meaning, having all the mods function together. Imperious Races of Skyrim adds more to the races we already have without the need to add new ones. Each comes with at least one new extra ability. Khajiit will be faster on land, Argonians have increased swim speed, and Bosmer can sneak to cannibalize people once in a while. New visual options have been added to the races, the most notable of which being the Wa Orc skeleton, which turns orcs back into the muscular juggernauts they were in previous games. Argonian's Fins adds the visual options from Oblivion, with its add-on also applying these changes to Argonians in the world. Bosmer now have scar options to add antlers, and this also has an add-on adding the unique feature back to the Bosmer of the world around you. Lastly, for these visual changes, Digitigrade Beast Races adds the Raptor and Lion feet back to Argonians and Khajiit respectively. After deciding on your name, you will approach the statue of Mara, added by the famous Live Another Life mod, and you will find new beginnings available thanks to the add-on of the same name. However, before you do this, you may want to check your inventory. Due to abandoned prison tweaks, you now have a dead mage in your cell and no starting spells. If you look to your right-hand side, you'll find a few nifty tools to help you with that. A vanity mirror to change minor aspects of your player character at will, a key to the dresser next to the statue, and a journal adding some ambience to your current situation, should you choose to read it. Upon opening the dresser, you will find a series of spell tomes and another key for the chest below. If you read the firmament on the top shelf, this will give you the ability to choose a starting birth sign, and with Andromeda installed, you will always get at least 2 effects added to your character. My tradition is always going with the Apprentice Stone, which in this overhaul allows me to cast novice spells for free, but gives me a 50-50 chance of them being much weaker or much stronger, making every fight a gamble. After choosing your starting spells, starting gear, and new life, you will be transported to the world of Skyrim. Here is where our next 2 parts of character creation come in. The first pop-up you get will be for religion. This is due to Winter Sun, and it's here to give you the option of different gods according to your race. This will come with the ability to pray, unique worship requirements, and once again, at least 2 effects. Lastly, go to your MCM menu and turn on Dynamic Magicka and Dynamic Stamina. Coming in the same mod, these allow your base stamina and magicka pools to grow dynamically as you use those skills. Congratulations, you have now built a unique Elder Scrolls character. Now for everything and everyone else around you. Upon hitting containers or pieces of furniture, you may find them to be much more fragile than you remember. This is due to Destructible Skyrim and its base item swapper, making it compatible with most other mods. If you get into a fight, you will notice the bodies of your enemies are in just as much trouble. This is due to Maximum Carnage adding more gore and horror effects to battles, including dismemberment. As we said before, we're adding new ways to interact with the world around you. This begins with adding the ability to climb back into Skyrim. Sadly, the mod Simply Climb doesn't work for most people, as it is more of a gimmick, not giving you the functionality desired in parkouring your way onto rooftops like in Daggerfall. Two mods add this ability in the form of Hookshot, which effectively introduces a web-slinging system, and Sneak Tools, with its arrow requirements turned off add-on, allowing you to craft rope arrows that allow you to climb out of any situation you're currently in, provided you get creative with them. The other thing previous games allowed you to do, was hit things while jumping or underwater, which we have also fixed through Character Behaviors Enhanced. This allows for everything from blocking while dual wielding to casting spells on horses, or even actually being able to hit things underwater. Levitation and flight has been added back into the game through Miracle of Flight. Use your choice of a Dwemer disc sold by Calcelmo, magic disc sold by Tolfdir, and a magic carpet sold by Naloth to drive around in what feels like a flying car in terms of how it handles. We've increased your physical ability to get around dramatically, but what about your psychological impact on the world around you? That is where a combination of mods, side quests of Skyrim, Tame the Beasts of Skyrim, amazing follower tweaks, more to say, Jackson's Renamer, interesting NPCs, and extended encounters come into play. With this combination of mods, we can take on side quests for literally any NPC in a radiant fashion, use a pet store in Whiterun Hold to learn a Bosmeri method of taming animals, adding a pet system into Skyrim that works on all animals, including those added by mods, have a small army of up to 30 followers, make any NPC our follower, rename those followers, as well as personal items, have more voiced responses from existing NPCs, as well as more dialogue options. Those named NPCs now have more dynamic schedules in real time, which makes for more random events in the world, and over 63 fully voiced in-depth possible followers have been added that combine to tell stories that are somewhere between 80s anime and 90s American action movie in terms of writing, which I find very enjoyable. For a more environmental impact, turning Hearthfire into what it was always meant to be, we're also adding a movable boat back into the game, for the first time since Daggerfall. We have the Scarlet buildable ship, Campfire, with its Tentapalooza add-on, Settlements of Skyrim, and Guild Starter. Campfire is a well-known mod that allows you to make camps and bedrolls to interact with, but its Tentapalooza add-on isn't as well researched. This includes build pieces that reflect different parts of Tamriel, such as Ashlander tents or Bosmeri-looking chairs. Guild Starter and Settlements combined allow us to bring Fallout 4-style settlement building into Skyrim, then turn that settlement into a new home for our personal faction, which we mark by dropping a stone into the desired location. I purposefully chose these mods over any new housing mods because of one reason. They are able to be done anywhere. That means if you feel like you want to make any of the new lands mods we're going to go over later in this video your home, you'll be able to. This is with the exception of the Scarlet, which can only go to various docks in Skyrim and Solstheim. Now, we move on to the meat of the video. I will be exploring each province as though you want to make an archetype of that race with all their unique cultural motifs in tow. I once saw someone try to make a Skyrim movie out of the proposed main story. I'll take a little bit of inspiration from that. Just like in the game movie, Jorgen's father was a moth priest who in a night of passion conceived him with a woman who the dragon blood lay dormant in. Jorgen is a Nord whose father cared enough for him to set him up in the Vigil of Stendarr to protect him through the blessings of the divine against evil or those who may wish to use him. The Oblivion Crisis happened only 200 years ago, so you can imagine Jorgen's horrific shock due to his upbringing that the companions, who he thought were brave Nord warriors, were actually werewolves. Lucky for him, our first mod was installed. The conflict under the Crescent Moon adds what Dawnguard did for vampires. This adds a new faction in the form of a noble knightly order known as the Silver Hand, who the Bandit Silver Hand you fight in the vanilla game split off from. Their quest line is the Companion's quest line, as their knightly order split off from the group soon after Ysgramor came to Skyrim. Join them to never have to become a werewolf. You can do so by heading to their HQ marked on your map by a friendly NPC warning you about the Companions, or by joining them after the mission in Dustman's Cairn where Farkas transforms in front of you, in which you will be saved by a Wood Elf member of their group and asked to join the fight. They fit in very well as a guild in the vanilla game, as though they should have always been there. After completing this quest line, Jorgen still is making his way through the main quest, discovering his true calling as the Dragonborn, and wants to challenge himself more as a warrior of the Thu'um. However, while war seems tempting, he can't join either side. He treasures the Nordic heritage that Ulfric Stormcloak represents, just as much as he does the rest of the 9 divines of the Empire. Unwilling to participate in the divide in his culture, he comes across our second mod, the Windhelm New Nissus Corner Club, in the Grey Quarter, where he is approached by a recruiter for the Pit Fighter, or Gladiator Arena, of Skyrim. With Pit Fighter and the Travels add-on, you can now fight in Skyrim or travel to different parts of Tamriel, fighting for gold and glory as you level up in rank in the guild. Other than these, we also have People of Skyrim Complete Edition. This is a giant overworld overhaul, adding new NPCs, world items, and locations that bring out Nordic culture, completing the often unfinished feeling world of Skyrim, as though it is truly the province it pretends to be. Any footage from mainland Skyrim you see in this video will likely have something from this overhaul. From the Windhelm Market to the second level of the Dwarven city of Markarth, this is a must-have. For now, we leave Jorgen alone as we move on to High Rock. He was a tax collector and good at his job, until one day he committed the ultimate sin and testified against other tax collectors. He had it all: wealth, status, success. With it all stripped from him, Julian Needson would meet a wise old witchman by the name of Winterborn, the last of his clan. From this elder reachman, he would learn the true way of Lork, who created a world of struggle for only the strong to survive. Using the skills of psychedelic drug use, Daedra worship, and tax evasion, he hopes to make up for his previous decadence and earn a song of his own in the soul of history. With the will of the Huntfather, he became Winter Sun, the Freedom Fighter. That opening credits sequence was from my Let's Play using the same mod setup and more. While Reachmen are meant to be their own cultural intermediary between Nords and Bretons, they are most often associated with the latter, so we will go over them in this section. Julian is the perfect character for this. After completing the Forsworn Conspiracy questline in Markarth, he earned the favor of the collection of tribes through our first Breton mod, Forsworn My Way. This makes all Forsworn passive to you when entering their camps and settlements after the Forsworn Conspiracy questline is completed, as Julian slowly converted to their ways. To further beef up the hedge wizard fauna druid-like group, we have Forsworn Skin Changers, Forsworn Doublegangers, and Forsworn Minotaurs. The prophet of Reachman religion is the father of man-beasts, Hircine. Skin Changers adds werewolves among their ranks. Forsworn Minotaurs is an add-on for Minotaurs, which adds the beasts to the Reach and Southern Skyrim. Finally, after participating in many a raid on the mainland with his small army of around 20 Forsworn soldiers, he is approached by the meat of the Breton mod section. A reminder of his old life and childhood comes to him as he is approached by travelers from his homeland of High Rock due to the mod Beyond Reach. This adds the western half of the Reach, including the main cities of Evermore, Arnima, and the Divide. For Forsworn players, this adds true Witchmen separate from the conflict with the Nords in Skyrim. With the more grimdark view the mod takes on the province, these tribes are far more mutated and deadly, experimenting with dark poisons not seen in the home of the Nords. The focus of this mod is on the war-caused poverty, corruption of government, and other issues that have horrible realities attached to them in the world. It cannot be said enough how much I love this mod. The armors it adds, the cultural personalities, and unique NPCs will stick with me as one of the best experiences I've had in this game. To end this section, we have a mod that emphasizes environmental storytelling as one of the main incarnations of Lorkhan's heart, which is relevant as Reachmen view Lork as their father god, has been found in the DLC New Dungeon mod, Heart of the Reach. This features a few new weapons and very unique swamp-like environments. Using the Beyond Skyrim Bruma extension for alternate start, the Imperial Fractus Thaddeus was a Cyrodiilic adventurer who came to the mainland of the Beyond Skyrim Bruma mod from the south. If Beyond Reach is black coffee, then Bruma is cherry pie. Its lush and vibrant landscape is reminiscent of the game that it is, originally featured in. Even though Dawnguard is the DLC featuring vampires, this is the mod which really acts as the Skyrim's version of Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, taking us to a colorful, flamboyant province, lush in its riches when compared to the main game. This new lands mod sells itself through its side quests and exploration rather than any main quest focus. From Thalmor agents investigating the Chapel of St. Martin to the unable to be opened Mages Guild needing your assistance dealing with necrophilic necromancers, this mod brings a lore-accurate Oblivion experience into the 4th era. After finishing his time in Bruma and moving into Skyrim, he continues his adventures, becoming more and more homesick, until ironically making it to the city of Dawnstar in the far north, where he finds the mod Wares of Tamriel, an Imperial-owned and operated ship business made by the same creators as Beyond Skyrim Bruma. This features preview items from all over Tamriel that act as an advertisement for 10 years from now when their next entry comes out, Wares of Tamriel 2 Beyond Calibers. A mod we will also be mentioning in our Black Marsh section is Tamriel Culture, which for the Imperials adds several unique armored bandits throughout the world who are part of a Cyrodiilic hitman agency finding work in the northern province by taking advantage of its war-torn state. Skyrim does not exist in an ecological vacuum, but instead, after Morrowind's series of natural disasters referred to as the Red Year, our first mod, Dark Forests of Skyrim, shows the effects of Morrowind's weather system coming to the volcanic biome of the home of the Nords, as it is now privy to the same mushroom trees. Given most of Morrowind's current post-apocalyptic state, this is more about bringing more of Dunmer culture into both Solstheim and the mainland. Drom Hetros, who started as a refugee in Raven Rock, was very happy to have found a place to belong with our first mod, Resurgence of the Morag Tong. In the lore, they dissolved after the Red Year, which happened over 100 years ago. But here, off the mainland, they are reforming in a new heroic incarnation in a war against the Dark Brotherhood. With Mephala being one of the god choices Dunmer get through the Winter Sun mod, and the Web Spinner also being the deity of the Morag Tong, it makes a great match. I was amazed to see this Morrowind Revival mod not get any attention when it came out, with twice the faction lines of the size of vanilla factions and groups. It was very odd. Take on assignments and honor Mephala's wishes. Of course, Dunmerry culture is very diverse, especially in the 4th era, with many integrating into other cultural groups. As we move to the mainland of Skyrim, we have the first group of Dark Elves to inhabit the mushroom forests of Skyrim, which is the Ashlander camp of New Zanib. Named for an Ashlander camp from the game Morrowind, these survivors can sell you unique membrane-forged weapons, and is a great hotspot for any Dunmer character, especially those looking to get unique Dunmer weapons without starting in Solstheim. Further to the south is the new home city of House Telvanni, coming to us from a mod that came under criticism when it came out due to its on-rails first half, making you into a slave. Project AHO adds the Dwemer technology mixed with Telvanni magic-inspired settlement of Cedrith Cagrin. It is heavily advised that you use the Delayed Slavery add-on for this mod, which allows you to avoid the forced starting until you're ready. When you are, head to Mixwater Mill to be accosted by an orc slaver who will give you the treatment you expect. After being sold, your adventure will begin. I assure you it is well worth it after you eventually get your freedom in the quest Freedom of Choice. You will have the ability to come and go from the city as you please. As you exit, you will find it very fittingly in the same mushroom forest part of the map. Lastly, while the Grey Quarter represents the hardships of trying to integrate into Nordic culture, the settlement of Little Vivec, headed by Moon and Star, in the much more temperate part of the mainland near Riverwood, is a much happier tale. With voice work from prominent early 2000s abridgers like Antfish and Ganziba, the iconic NPCs will make you smile as it slowly dawns on you that they have met the challenges of living firsthand through the last 100 years through extreme optimism. Moon and Star's main quest has you meet the main character from The Elder Scrolls III as you track a criminal from Morrowind into a vast Dwemer ruin. As Drom Hetros comes fully to terms with his identity and place in the world, we move on to Black Marsh. Black Marsh is a province of insane wealth, being led by dominant ethnocentric leaders at war with what is left of the Dunmer and mainland Morrowind, and winning. Bringing this province to life is something one author tried to do, and that same author's Valenwood mod is on this list. However, for now, we await a worthy mod contender for a province that likely would require the Beyond Skyrim Anthropology Society focused touch seen in Bruma. Sleeps on Gold is a criminal like most Slack Seal who would leave their homeland during this time. He traveled to the north to make a living as a sellsword, follower of Sithis, and joined the Dark Brotherhood accordingly. As he grew in power, he got his hands on one of our first mods, Argonian weapons, reminiscent of his homeland. This weapon set has a small chance of spawning on Argonian NPCs in-game and requires the Ebony Smithing perk to craft, as it requires the same weapon rating as well, showcasing the power of Argonians at this time. Tamrielic culture adds an Argonian hideout, Sleeps on Gold eventually found, which was why he came here in the first place, hearing about a group trying to sell impure hiss sap extracted through a Dwemer contraption as a competitor to skooma. Sadly, by the time he got to the hideout, the Marsh brothers had already turned feral from getting high on their own supply of hystroids. However, this did add a series of unique hist-based items, including a tree that could be milked as long as you had a Dwemer dynamo core to power the machine being used. Making this his base and heading north into the mushroom forests of Skyrim, the Beasts of Tamriel mod adds 2 more Hiss Tree outfits in the land with a similar idea. The Patru tribe of frog-like Argonians using it to make some form of drunken berserker state, inducing Argonian ale, and Hist smugglers using Gwar as their drug mules, causing them to glow accordingly. The Hist trees in both of these locations can be harvested for their plumage. Lastly, that means Hist. You can get Hist stuff. Lastly, after the endless war and death in this foreign land, Sleeps on Gold has felt much remorse for his actions. Seeking to reconnect with his culture, he finds his people's symbol in a surprising place at a guild called Cyrodiil Collections. With missions taking him from Skyrim to the Alakir Desert and the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal add-on mod for the main Cyrodiil Collections guild, he tries and retires in his new home in Ben Arai. As he dies of old age, we turn our attention to the desert in front of him. You may remember Manny GT's Grey Cowl of Nocturnal, as that mod you installed got stuck in the maze of that glitched with the cool assets and then uninstalled, continuing on with your day. With the map marker add-on for this location, you fast travel straight to the desert, which is what you're playing this mod for anyway, and you start your Elder Scrolls VI Redguard adventure like our character Cyrus. Cyrus makes his way to the Halls of the West and starts the main quest line of the mod while avoiding the Dune Rippers of the area. With the mod, more to do in Hammerfell, he's able to pick up multiple quests themed around archaeology and fighting necromancers. Eventually, he helps construct a portal to Falkreath, at which point he finds himself similar to Sleeps on Gold, joining the Dark Brotherhood. Upon returning home, the mod Desertic Dark Brotherhood allows him to take on missions and rebuild the branch of the organization in the Alakir Desert. Finally, he finished his adventure by rebuilding the Blades faction in his homeland, seeking to make it a home of heroes, playing both sides as an assassin and hero of the people through the mod Hammerfell Blades. As he stares out over a successful and productive Alakir desert, where once there was only a barren refuge of outlaws, we go across the hostile parts of the province, too dangerous to venture, all the way to the home of the Thalmor. Starting as a member of the Thalmor Embassy in Skyrim, Triero Hero would love the new redesign of elven armor, used to bring it more in line with the Thalmor Inquisitor uniforms through the mod Dark Elven Armor Retexture. This also adds a face mask to most elven helmets, giving the warriors of elven supremacy the dignity of separating their civilian identity from their military life. One day, waking up to realize all of his coworkers had vanished, he sets out on a quest to find them. Eventually, he rolls his eyes at the College of Winterhold and meets someone who he thinks will be a comrade in arms, Ancano. Sadly, the power-hungry monster had turned his back on Ariel long ago, and in the midst of dealing with the traitor, he became the leader of the Podunk College of Winterhold. After becoming their archmage, much to his confusion and chagrin, having to now teach a bunch of dark elves and worse yet Nords how to cast spells, which could be considered his own personal plane of tormented oblivion, he is soon approached by the beginning of our next mod, simply titled Summerset Isles. With 10 years of development, 97 original voice actors, and the culture of the High Elves being brought to life in stunning detail, this mod is both an amazing addition to Skyrim, as it acts as the polar opposite of its main setting, going from a magophobic country to a land so magical that rogue grimoires are haunting the countryside, and teleportation magic is a status symbol, but also could easily be a game in its own right. Finally, in his home country, he rejoices in high elven culture and becomes weirdly defensive of his Nord hillbilly students. They might be inferiors, but they're his inferiors, and you will not insult them. It's best recommended that you play Summerset Isles without altering the College of Winterhold questline, as it is meant to be a response to how easy the questline is, and also is required to start the questline. Early on in the main story, you'll get a teleportation spell, which will take you back to the College of Winterhold from Skyrim, and will transport you from anywhere in Skyrim to the Shimmerine Mages Guild. I love this mod so much it physically pains me. Because of how easy the College of Winterhold questline is, the mod author continuously makes a point for the rest of the province, including other archmages from around the world, to see you as a nobody. You may be a big shot in the land of the uneducated people that think that soul gem powered staffs, this is an actual side quest in Skyrim, soul gem powered staffs means they have magical power or magical talent of their own, but you're nothing in a world where wild storm atronarchs roam the countryside. As Triero develops a new lease on life, we move across the pond to a place occupied by the Thalmor for at least one generation of re-education. Opo Hetik was brought up in the most recent generation of Bosmer under the control of the Thalmor's re-education program in southwestern Valenwood. As true war and chaos broke out, a wizard sent him through a portal to Falkreath in Skyrim, from which he was able to access Valenwood again through the mod Eldenroot, A Tale of Valenwood. This mod allows us to travel to a safer part of the nativist Valenwood, free from the occupation of the Thalmor. Now, one brief interjection I have here is that there is a bug that if you get the Telmithrin crash, which is usually caused either by Equipment Flexibility Project, which can cause this bug, as well as Immersive Creatures of Skyrim since the Anniversary Edition update. Both of those have caused the Telmithrin crash bug before, and I just want to put that out there that if you get that crash bug, you will also get it with Eldenroot, A Tale of Valenwood. Here, the Green Pact is still upheld, and it is here that Opo was informed of how to worship his racial god Y'ffre. The custom assets in this mod really make it stand out, and allowing you to travel to a small part of safer Valenwood is an amazing privilege to enjoy. 2 Wood Elf settlements also exist in Skyrim as a result of Valenwood's current state. Elvenwood, which, similar to Little Vivec, is a Skyrim native recreation of their home culture, and Melandriel, which still upholds the Green Pact, but in the home of the Nords, given their own variation. That's how the town makes sense, and having the Bosmer trees there and everything. Both of these settlements are added by their respective mods. Finally, we've built up the current state of Valenwood as a war-torn hellhole, and the Dark Souls-like mod, similar to Dark End in spirit, called Assault on Valenwood, brings that grim image to life. In the lore, the way the Thalmor dealt with Bosmer culture has always been brutal, with a harsher war than anything ever brought against the nations of men. This is probably due to the fact that they're racially similar, which would mean that their culture would be more of a threat for contamination. Now, during this time, the Thalmor have grown arrogant, with at least one generation of Bosmer being fully converted. They were raised in the indoctrination program, even if you wanted to have the sort of longer elven lifespans, which are sort of kept vague in the Elder Scrolls lore. You still have the fact that at least one generation were indoctrinated and raised in Thalmor-occupied Valenwood. Going back home in late game at around level 81, which was what I would recommend playing this mod at, he found the corpses of the rest of the Hetic family. In the midst of all this are the friendly factions of human rebels, of different out-of-province factions, aiding the few remaining nativist Bosmer against the Thalmor, boss battles including giant Daedric nightmares called Terrors of Valenwood in the ruins of Old Eldenroot, and griffins, which act as the dragons of the region. All of the Valenwood mods we have installed are based around the idea of environmental storytelling. They very much feel like the Dark Souls-style games, with a heavy focus on environment and cryptic notes everywhere, slowly cluing you into the horror of their current situation. After a long playthrough with Oppo Hetic, we move on to the east, to someplace elsewhere. But first, if you want favor with the Green Pact, Hist, or possibly the weird winged minotaur that hung out with Pelennial, then you'll enjoy our video's sponsor, Ronin Kraft. Ronin Kraft is an independent 3D printing service that specializes in both sci-fi and fantasy. Ronin is known for their excellent customer service and ability to stay in touch with you as your order is being placed. With an excellent rating on Etsy, you can be sure that you're getting a product that's quality transcends any master. An insane follower of the Skumakat incarnation of Sheogorath, Tor Ko is an illusion mage with various spells useful for traversing the world and sneaking out of locations after pranks have been pulled. He finds himself in Skyrim as the guard to a Khajiit caravan. After sabotaging the group by ratting on their skooma sails to the guards, he made his way wandering through the world until he came just outside of Falkreath, in which he encountered our first Khajiit-focused mod, which is Moonpath to Elsweyr. With its last update in 2018, this new lands mod takes you to jungle and desert environments within the home of the catfolk and a little bit on the coast. While fighting the Thalmor and gaining the trust of the Khajiit airship captain, you may notice certain things about these catfolk separating them from the Khajiit of previous playthroughs. Thanks to Project Jean Cage and its add-ons for both interesting NPCs and Moonpath to Elsweyr, there are a few types of Khajiit that go unrepresented here. This overhaul changes all named Khajiit NPCs into one subtype based on their personality, according to the author. More social Khajiit caravan leaders, or pirate ship captains, will become Oheim's Rot, or the more human to wood elf-looking Khajiit, while others look like house cats or mini Khajiit like Jazargo's new appearance. The mod page has its own list of which NPCs are changed into what. After having it installed, this is a must-have for any playthrough whatsoever. Khajiit morphology is based around what phase of the moon they were born under, with a huge amount of differences in their adult body plan. I really do want a version of this mod for every Elder Scrolls game. As a final note, parts of Elsweyr are also added through Assault on Valenwood in an overlapping area in which many Khajiit bandits are located. I don't have any other mods to showcase for this specific section, so I'm going to say he kills himself by gorging himself inhumanly, even for a Khajiit, on cheese-laced, snorted moonshucker. That's what we're going with. Orsinium is in a weird place in the Fourth Era. About 200 years ago, the Orsinium most people are familiar with from either Daggerfall or ESO was sacked. This destruction at the hands of the usual suspects, Bretons and Redguards, resulted in them being so beaten that they had to relocate to the south of Daggerfall, bordering on Hammerfell to the southwest of Skyrim. Depending on which version of Orsinium you want to visit, I have two mod recommendations. Possible using both if you desire. It is possible to use both if you desire. I am using neither because, much like Black Marsh, I don't feel like Project Orsinium does the province justice. I can excuse the Dark Souls-style endless brutality of most of modern Valenwood because of its current state. It's in a bloodthirsty, warlike, genocidal state. It's not in a place that you would want to visit. In contrast, the 4th Era Orsinium, or as we will call it, Southern Orsinium, should be a story about a warrior race rising from the ashes of history in what is a purposefully harsh environment that keeps out intruders. Due to both its poverty and location, dealing with the province isn't as simple as filling it with a bunch of boss battles. With this mod not having any main quest, while I am linking it below, I cannot recommend it due to its current state. Many people have also reported a lot of crash errors. If you would like to visit the 3rd Era's Orsinium, there is a mod that functions as an alternate start, which will take you through the main quest of the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, also adding the location in question. This is a very good and well-polished mod, and the only reason it isn't in this mod list today is that it doesn't take place in the 4th Era. If you want to use it at the end of the story, it will send you into the vanilla starting of Skyrim through a time warp spell, making Skyrim your endgame from Daggerfall. It's a time travel loophole, so I'll allow it. I'm not sure I would recommend an Orsinium mod even if it was done well. I think most people who like playing Orsimer, like myself, enjoy the pariah folk nature of them. They're fierce combatants who make unstoppable warriors but suck at government. Part of Orcish identity is being a pariah folk, outcasts forced to adapt to the provinces of other cultures and provinces. The orcs added by the mods we already have installed are great examples of this. Assault on Valenwood has wood orcs, Beyond Reach has orc raiders, Project AHO adds an orc-operated slave market, and Summerset has Malakath cultists in Summerset. Both mods are still linked below if you still want to try them. I hope this mod list was helpful in improving your Skyrim experience. I know I was very mushed-mouthed during this reading. I was very lucky that I got this script approved by my sponsor because I've been sick while recording. I truly believe that the 4th Era has the most to offer in terms of the different ages of the Elder Scrolls settings and fully support anyone trying to bring it to life. ESO just isn't for me. Our sponsor's link is located below. Again, very grateful to Ronin Kraft. He's a great sponsor, great guy. Donation links are located under the mod list and Discord link. Have a great day.